Good evening, everybody. This is Dennis Pretorius Holmgren, former guest of Tech Immigrants and now host of Tech Immigrants. Today, I'm delighted to introduce to you a remarkable individual, Joakim Tornhill. His journey is an intriguing fusion of the tech industry and the captivating world of technical art. With a career spanning notable positions at IKEA, Capgemini, and more, Joakim has found his niche as a technical artist at Ernst Borg Studio in Malmö. In his daily routine, Joakim seamlessly weaves together the threads of technology and creativity, breathing life into immersive gameplay worlds. Join me in extending a warm welcome to the one and only Joakim Tornhill.
Thank you.
Welcome, Joakim. Welcome to this webinar.
Thank you.
I would like to start off by getting to know you a bit better. Can you please explain a brief outline of your career trajectory and life journey? What led you to become a technical artist in the first place?
Yes, it's a long story, but I will try to take it down a bit. I started, a very long time ago when you had something called home computers, like 1984 or something like that, doing some game for myself and just playing around, learning how to use coding and so on. And then I went into school and I got a technical degree, and it was time for getting a job. And at that time, there was nothing called game studios or something like that. If you did a game, you did it by yourself, and if you were lucky, a few people saw it, and that was that. So I get into the regular world of technique. So I became an IT consultant, and I tried almost everything. So I have been a developer for, 35 years or something like that, writing code. I work with test, being a project leader, Scrum Master, most of the things in that circle, so to say. So, but all that time I was thinking a little bit, this is not what I would like to do. I don't like to do, development of administration software and so on. I would like to do games. But the years, they just went on and on and on. So I was working 10 years, 20 years, and 30 years. And I was thinking, shit, this is really boring. I need to do something else. So I said, okay, now I'm trying to go into the game industry because as a hobby, I was learning Blender, a 3D tool, and thought, okay, now I know 3D and I know development. It should be very, very easy to go into the game industry because I have it all.
I see.
Yeah, that was what I thought in a way. That was just hitting a wall. Okay, so how many AAA games have you done? No one, nothing. Okay, so have you done some art for some game? No, but I'm really good at this Blender tool. We use Maya, okay, and so on and so on. So it was really, really hard. You couldn't get into the game industry. So I tried a way around it, and I came in as an operation manager instead into game industry to a company called Divine Robot. So now I could be in charge for almost everyone, but I couldn't do anything. I couldn't model anything. I couldn't write any code. I could just tell people what to do. And that was not what I would like to do. I would like to be hands-on. So I tried different ways, and finally I found out that the only way to be accepted in Sweden, even if I had like 30 years of experience, was go to school. So here I am, 50 plus. Can I go to school? How do I get a job? Or how do I get money? And so on. So I was thinking a little bit, and then, okay, perhaps I can do online courses, get some money from that. And I have some spare place in my apartment. I can rent that out and so on. And I took some yeah, something here, something there. And finally, I had enough money to go to school. And then I applied for the game assembly, and I was accepted in two roles. So as a technical artist and as a 3D artist. So they liked what they saw, even in the artist side. However, the artist side is a longer course, and when you get out, you get less money. So the easiest way for me is just to take as short as possible and get more money when I get out. And then I can do some art and some technical stuff, and that will fit me perfectly. So that is what I did. And I went through that one. And after that, I finally got the job. So first internship in Denmark, working in the mobile game industry, working with Maya and with Unity. But I felt that I like to work with Blender. So I was like searching on the side, do we have something in Sweden that can satisfy my needs? And then I went in and searched and found this Ernst Borg Studio. And I said, I know a little bit about Blender, perhaps you want me? And they said, yes, we really want you. Could you come over? And then I went from Denmark to Sweden, and I got my job at Ernst Borg, and I really, really loved that job. So I have now stayed here for a couple of years, and feels really, really great still. So that was my journey, so to say.
Yeah, that's awesome to hear, man. So
Yeah.
basically, you have a long career within the tech
Yes.
industry. So
Yes.
where would you say that this artistic side of yours come from with the Blender, 3D modeling and stuff? Is that something that you used to do, perhaps when you were younger, or like as
Yeah,
a child?
exactly.
Yeah,
So I
yeah.
always loved to draw
Mm.
in 2D, and I tried 3D. I started with 3D Studio Max. It was really, really tough. And then I started with Blender, and I felt I can't handle this. This is too difficult to work with. And I threw it away, and then I tried again, and I threw it away, and so on. Then my girlfriend's daughter started to go into game school, and
Mm.
she needed to learn some 3D tool, and we started with Blender again, and I was a little bit tough. I said, yes, I know Blender, I can fix it, I can show you how to do it. So then I had to sweat all night long and see if I can try now again. And the third time, then I didn't let it go, and I finally learned how to use that tool. And after that, it was just going forward with that tool and learn more and more about it. So when I was into the school in the game assembly, I had several years of experience even in the 3D art, but not in the game industry, just for
Mm.
hobby.
Yeah, yeah. And perhaps the kind of artworks you've done, from what I've seen, and we will also provide links to all our viewers later. It's more like 3D renders. It's not as much game art, at least in the beginning, right?
Yeah, that's correct.
Yeah, yeah. So it's most like visualization and stuff like that.
Yeah, so I like to
Mm.
do realistic stuff. Often it's old stuff, like
Mm.
an old attic or something like that.
Yeah.
Or I like to do food, because food is hard when it comes to material. So then
Mm.
it's really fun to just pin it and make it work in a good way with the material when it comes to food.
Interesting, interesting.
Yeah.
So your road has led you to Ernst Borg Studio. Can you
Yes.
describe a bit more a day in the life of a technical artist, and perhaps in particular a day in the life as a technical artist over at Ernst Borg Studio?
Yeah, I can do that. I can start with saying that when I started in the game assembly, my goal was to go into a really big company like uh, like Ubisoft or Massive or something like that. But as day and month passed and we got a guest to the game assembly, I saw that if I select one of these really big companies, there's a very big risk that I will do the same thing all over again. So I will just do trees, or I will do some rocks or something like that, and I will just stay in that position. And since I is a person, I have had my own company and I like to do everything, I felt that that will not fit me. I need to do something else. And then I looked at smaller companies, because in smaller companies, you are like Blender yourself. You need to be good at everything. You need to be good at art. You need to be good at development. You need to be good at all the technical stuff, scripting and so on. And that is something I really like, to be able to do everything. So when I went into Ernst Borg, I think they were like 10 people or something like that. So that fitted me very well. And I think now they are about 30, so they have grown a bit during the last 2 years. And as a technical artist at Ernst Borg, it also depends on what project you are in. Because Ernst Borg, they are doing AAA games as well. But I'm in another game that is called Midnight Ghost Hunt, and is the sole technical artist there. And that is a little smaller game, but that also gives you a lot more freedom. So what I can do right now is that I can do almost everything I want to do. So I go in the morning, I have an agenda. I think, okay, today I think I will do this and that. And then during the day, I get a lot of questions from people. Oh, can't you fix this? Can't you fix that? Yes, I can do that. Yes, I can do that. And at the end of the day, my agenda is completely different from what I started with. But if I just describe what I do as a technical artist during the day, it could be something like this, that I start in the morning, we have a morning meeting, we go through what we are supposed to do during the day and what we did yesterday, and if we have something that will be an obstacle or problem for us. And if everything is okay, then we just continue and start our day. And if it's a Wednesday, then we have a play test. We try out a game, so we see that everything works and we don't have any bugs or things that are like strange and so on. But if everything is okay, then everything is okay and we can just continue. And after that, it could be something that makes the game more alive. That is more like my main role. I go into the game and then I can see, okay, so how can we make this to be a non-static image? Do we have some flags that should wave? Do we have some waves in the ocean? Do we have some sky with clouds? Should there be some birds or perhaps some insects? Should we have some explosions and so on? Wherever we can add stuff that will like move a bit, but it's not pure animation, that is where I come in. So I always go through my our game and see, okay, can we do it a little bit more live? Can we do something that gets the gamer to think, wow, this is really good game, without playing the game, just looking at it. So that is what I start with. And then there comes in a guy and says, do you know, how do you do this in Blender? And I said, sure, I can show you. And then I go in and I show you, okay. And then the next guy came in, I tried this one and it didn't work. Can you write a script for that? Yes, of course, I can do something like that. So then I go into Blender, write something in Python, or I do something in Geometry Node, or I do some other stuff to make it work. So it's a lot of tool and automatic stuff that should be good. And then they go, then perhaps I can go back to my thing to just look at stuff and see what can I do better. And then suddenly a person jumps up behind me and says, it works really, really well, this game, but if I use this weapon, we lose a lot of frames here. So can you optimize it? Can you see if it's the effects or if it's something else? Yes, I can do that. And then I go in and check with different tools, and we'll have some tools and we have some external tools to see what it could be that needs to be optimized for that specific weapon, and then I fix that as well. And then of course they complain about the effect on that weapon, and can you fix that? Yes, I can do that as well. So then I go in and then I fix that and so on. And yeah, and then the art leader comes to me and says, Joakim, yes, what is it? We have a room here that is really empty. Can you like add some assets to it? So just model something, whatever, just so it doesn't look empty. Yeah, sure, I can do that. And then I jump into Blender, and then I do some stuff there, and then I go out again, and so on. So it's a really a lot of stuff I'm doing. If I compare that to like a regular technical artist, they are more focused in one thing. So they can be like, I am an expert in scripting. Then they do tools a lot. So they do Python, or they do something in blueprints and nodes and so on. But they often have that as an area, or they can be technical artists in animation and work a lot with rigging and so on. But I'm a more guy that is all over the place, and I like that. So that's also why I select this size of company.
Got it, got it. So a smaller company, it allows you basically to wear more hats within the game development.
Exactly.
Exactly, yeah, yeah. So that is something for everybody to keep in mind when you're looking for a job. If you
Yeah,
want to specialize, perhaps go for one of the bigger companies. If you want to be more of a generalist, perhaps a smaller company is better.
that's correct.
Yeah, that's correct.
And the problem, if you are like a generalist, is that in your interview, they will ask you, what do you want to do?
Mm,
And if you ask, I would like to do, or if you answer, I would like to do everything, you will not be unemployed, because people always expect that you should be an expert, or that you should have your focus on something. So even if you like to do everything, you should think of one specific thing that will burn a little bit more than the
mm,
other stuff, and promote that. And then if you come into the industry, then you can show that I can do this and this, that as well. But
interesting.
just select something, so the interviewer feels secure that you can do at least that in a good way.
Interesting. Interesting. So I would say that that is pretty much the definition of skill stacking, I think, that you have one major skill, but you also branch out into many other skills.
Exactly.
Yeah, interesting, interesting. We do have a question from an audience member here. That
Okay.
is, let's see. Hello, nice to talk to you. I had two questions. First, why do companies make exclusive game engines? And two, can mastering Houdini and Maya software be an advantage?
Yes. For the first, to make exclusive game engines, all game engines have both advantage and disadvantages. So depending if you're like building an open world with a lot of scenes that needs to be changed in streaming and so on, then perhaps some engine will work for that, and another one will be a little bit more bad for that. So it depends of if they find enough of those disadvantages, so they think that this was not, we cannot handle it using this engine, then they often go for creating their own exclusive game engines. However, what is happening right now in the industry is more that everyone is going back to standard game engines. So people that had used exclusive game engines, they look at the engines that we have today and say, okay, but Unreal 5 will fix this. I think we will go back to using a standardized engine. But that doesn't mean that they just buy that as a vanilla package and then use it. It's also so that they often do a lot of programming, changing it into what they would like it to do. So if Unreal Engine is weak in some area, it could be that the programmers or developers in that company do a lot of coding to make it better just in that area. So I think in all our projects, we have never used Unreal Engine just upside as it is. We have always included other stuff into it to make it work as we want to do it. So that is a little bit about the game engines. And about mastering Houdini and Maya, if that could be an advantage, of course, it's yes. If you can use many tools, that will be an advantage. Right now, Houdini is something that more and more game studios want, mostly because more and more game studios go for more procedural stuff. They want to let the engine create the base of the world, and then the artist can do more of the details, so to say. And Houdini is good at that, and it's also good at doing realistic things and a lot of simulations and so on. So a lot of studios really want Houdini people. Another thing is that Houdini is really hard to learn, which means that they don't have so many people to select. So if you know Houdini, you have a big advantage. When it comes to Maya, it used to be the number one tool to use in the game industry. Right now, it's changing. So Maya is still one of the biggest, but Blender is, even if it's free, not a small tool for the hobby people anymore. It's also something that is used in all big studios. In some big studios, they say that we are using Maya, but the concept artist perhaps is using Blender anyway. So it's good to know a 3D tool, if it's Maya or if it's Blender, if it's 3D Studio Max, Modo or something else. That doesn't matter so much anymore. So no, a 3D Studio, 3D tool, whatever, but Houdini, yes, that is a really advantage.
Interesting, interesting. So, I would like to get a bit deeper into technical art. Technical art essentially is a very interesting blend of artistic ability and technical prowess. So, how does your tech experience enrich your role in technical art? How does it help you connect technology and creativity while you're working in the gaming industry?
Yeah. If you take contact with someone in the game industry, they will say, we are working in the game industry, it's completely different from everything else. So it doesn't matter that you worked with, in the transport industry or whatever. It doesn't have anything that is similar to the game industry. But that's wrong. It's really a similar thing. If you have the technical skill to do programming and development, then you also have the knowledge when you go into a game engine or even a material like go into substance designer, because you have the thinking, you have the logic, you have how to create stuff. It doesn't matter if it's in C# or Python or if it's just a node-based system. It's always the same thinking. It's the same logic that you use. So if you have information that, okay, this is how an interface works, this is how a function works, this is how coding works, then you can just go right into Maya or Unity or Unreal Engine and you can see, okay, they also have interfaces, they have parent and child, they have all that stuff that normal software have. So it's no big difference in that perspective. So if you have that information, then you can take that right into the game industry and really use it. The other thing, as consultant anyway, in the tech industry, is that you learn to listen, because a lot of people come to you as a technical artist and ask questions. They always want you to fix something. But what you need to understand as a technical artist is that you need to get the complete picture out of that question. You need to understand why is it that this person would like things to work like this. It could be that the solution is completely different from what that person thought from beginning. And that is also something that you learn in the tech industry. As an IT consultant, you need to listen to the customer and understand the need of the customer and transform that into something that the customer can use. And that is exactly the same in the game industry when you're working as a tech artist. They always say these questions to you, and you need to solve those questions, but in a good way, so you don't get another question the next day that you had been able to solve if you just listen on the first question. So it's always those things are very, very close to each other. So I think that they are really close in many, many ways.
I guess fundamentally they're very close, and your long career in the tech industry was probably a good preparation for the gaming industry. I think I said
Yes,
gaming, but I meant
yes,
tech industry. Yeah,
yeah, it certainly
interesting.
was.
Certainly
So
was, yeah. And you pretty much seen it all, I guess. Seeing as you've done it for 30 years, you pretty much seen it all when it comes interacting with clients, working in different companies and different areas and stuff like that, different
yeah,
projects. Yeah.
and every time you start a new project with a new customer in the tech industry, you don't know anything about that industry. I have worked with banks, and I know nothing about banks when I went into that industry. I worked in the security industry. I knew nothing about the security before I was there. I worked in the transport, in the logistic. I knew nothing about that. So every time you go into something new, you really start from scratch. And what you learn in that area to be a consultant is that you need to grasp things very, very quickly so you can take the knowledge they have and transform that into your knowledge and combine your knowledge with what they have and get something out of it.
Yeah.
So that is yes.
Yeah, there's no set way to learn stuff either. Like every role is different. Like every company has different processes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's like that, and it's also and when you work with in the game industry, it could be so that you build your own game. It could also be so that as the boy do that we are co-developers, then someone else owns the game, and you have to follow the rules that the owner of the game sets, and it will be different from project to project. So you can't say that you will do it in some specific way, even if it's in the game industry. It's almost like it's project based. One project is doing it in one way, another project is doing it another way.
Interesting. So I would like to dive a bit deeper into this, and especially the difference between the tech industry and the gaming industry.
Mm.
So this question is about collaboration and interdisciplinary skills. What essential collaboration strategies and skills do technical artists need in the gaming world compared to tech positions?
Uh, yeah, you can say what it comes down to is to know what is the different things between a tech and a game. And if we take an example, you said that my art was mostly like rendering still images of realistic things. And I can show that to any game industry, and they will say, "You draw really nice images, but we don't want you. You don't have the skill that we need." Because what you need in the game industry, you need to know the specific workflow on how to cheat. Because everything in the game industry is cheating, because the computer is not powerful enough to just put in whatever you want. You need to cheat. So you can't put in millions of polygons and think everything will work. It will not work. So then you need to know, okay, so how will I do this little round ball and think that it should be a globe, all the trees and all the stuff, without having all the small trees drawn into this game? Then you need to know, okay, I need to make low poly out of the high poly. I need to create some material that fakes all the depth and all the heights. I need to add some planes before everything to simulate fog. I need to do all these sheeting things. And that is very, very specific for the game industry, because we would like to build an illusion of something amazing. When a gamer goes to the game and wants to play, that gamer wants to see an ocean that is moving, birds in the sky, the boats should rock back and forth to the waves movement and whatever, and it should rain sometimes, it should be lighting, and there should be thousands of enemies at least, and a lot of stuff should happen all at the same time, and everything should look realistic, or you will get the feedback that, oh, this game has bad graphics, don't play it. So you need to do everything perfect, and that is a very specific talent that you need in the game industry when it comes to effects and the vision and animation and the models itself. So that you need to learn. And also, if you're doing materials, it's the same thing. You can't take a photo of something and just put it on and think that's enough. Most of the games, they're using like substance design or building materials from scratch using mathematics and different designs and patterns. So that is also a very specific talent that you need in the game industry.
So in other words, you could say that it's good to be artistic, it's good to have artistic skills, but if you're going to work in the gaming industry, you will have to learn some technical stuff, because you will have to get it to work in a game engine.
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly.
You have learn all the shortcuts.
Exactly. So even if you're just going to be a 3D modeler or a concept artist, you will have to learn some of the technical stuff.
Yeah, and if you want to have a job in the game industry, you should present the workflow from start to end. So don't just present, this is the final image, this is the final model, this is what I've done. But present, this is what I started with, this is what I had in the middle, and this is how I ended it, and I have done this, this, and this. Because then they can see, if you know the flow from the start to the end, how to create a game asset. So they can see that you have all the skills needed to cover the complete way. If you just show the end result on an image, they don't know if it's 5,000 polygons or if it's 5 million polygons, and they don't know how you did a material. So you need to show them that.
Exactly. You can make the best model, but it may not work in the game engine.
Yeah,
it may be too high poly. Yeah, exactly. So that is something that all of you guys definitely have to keep in mind when you're looking for a job. So to get back to the subject of being a game artist, when you were learning, you probably wanted to know where to find the best resources. So basically, could you recommend any good resources or tools for learning how to become a technical artist?
Yes and no. Yeah, I have been all over the place for different type of resources, and it's a lot of stuff that you need to get into your head when you try to be a technical artist. You need to know math. People tell me that anyway. I'm not a math pro myself, but I've learned a little bit, and I like it. But there is something called linear algebra. That is how you work with math in 3 dimension. And since everything in game industry is 3 dimension, and you want to be a technical artist, then search all the resources that is about linear algebra, so you know how to handle that type of math. Then when it comes to result on the art side, then you always have these platforms like ArtStation and so on. And you should, when you think you're good, you should always compare with what you can see on the ArtStation, because we have a large amount of people that love to come into the game industry. That means that the bar to go into the industry is really high. So you need to really push yourself to get to a quality that is good enough. So you should not sit by yourself and think, okay, I have done a good job here. You should go to ArtStation, and specifically if you want to do hard surface, then search all the hard surface things that you can find. And often really big artists in ArtStation, they also have the flow, how they have built stuff. So then you can go in and you can learn, okay, so how did it do these things in this game? And you can go through it and you can see everything, and then you will learn a lot. And then you, of course, has a lot of things on YouTube, and that is a good starting place. But I can do a YouTube as a beginner, but I can also do YouTube stuff as a pro. So perhaps you learn something on YouTube that you have to relearn afterwards because they didn't do it in the correct way. Then it's better to go to something that you really have to pay a little bit for. So there are a lot of online, we have Udemy, we have a lot of other online courses that they cost just a little bit of money, not so much. Could be that often they have discounts. You can get it for like $9 or something like that. But they also have a lot of feedback where you can see that this course have 5 stars all over the place. Then you know, and it also have like 3, 4, 5, or 10 different type of subjects or courses. And then you know that this is high quality. Then you don't have to go around all over the place to find something free on YouTube that might show you the wrong stuff. Then you go in, you pay for that, and you get the correct thing from the beginning. You can also go the back way, so you can see, okay, this guy on Udemy or whatever is really great on Udemy. Then often that guy also has stuff on YouTube that is free. So then you can go search on an online platform and then go to YouTube and get a lot of stuff for free without paying, where you know that will be quality. So that is also a way to handle it and to find the correct things. And another thing is, of course, that it's also hard to search for things before you know the vocabulary. So try to learn all the stuff that comes into this industry, that like normal maps and whatever, so you know what to search for later on, because it's really hard to ask the correct question if you don't know the vocabulary, know the words behind it. Because that can be hard. So you can see a lot in forums on Facebook, people ask a question that they think is really, really hard to find on Google. And then they got some really bad answer. You just Google this and then you have the first answer that pops up, this is your answer. Yes, but you can't Google that if you don't know the words for it. So that is also a good thing, that you really need to know this industry and the words that come into this industry to find your way forward, let's say. And that you can find on all these pages on YouTube and so on.
Exactly.
So that is a little bit of the things, the resources you can reach. And there is a lot on the internet. As I said, Facebook is often divided into groups. So you can search that I would like to learn more about substance designer. Then there is a group in Facebook about Substance Designer or about Blender or about Maya or whatever, and there you can exchange questions and so on. So that is also a good way to get into all the stuff that you need to know.
Yeah, it's really important to immerse yourself in this world because you simply don't know what you don't know. And talking to people and learning from the pros is one of the best ways to learn, in my opinion.
Yeah, and one other thing is also that industry, a lot of companies in this industry, they have events. So they want to show what you can do. So they can have a complete day about this is how you do materials in this game, or this is how you do some animation that we did for this character in this game, and so on. So keep your eyes open
Mm.
on Facebook and Instagram and LinkedIn and so on for all these types of events. Many of these are both online and free. Others you need to come to, but there are always a lot of events that you can visit in some way.
Mm. Very good, yeah. Especially in if you're near Sweden and Malmö, then there's usually a lot of events in
Yes,
real life, yes, and usually they're free.
exactly.
So if you're in the vicinity, make sure to check it out. And that actually brings us to our next question regarding networking as a technical artist. So, how can a technical artist build valuable connections in the gaming industry? And how does it differ from networking in tech? How has networking influenced your career?
Yes. Um, the gaming industry is like a fun place to be. That is why most people search this industry. They really like to play games, but they also like to play other stuff. So we come back to this about events. They often create events, but not events just for learning stuff. They also create events to have fun. So also search for that when you are looking out for different type of events, because there you meet a lot of other people that already are in the game industry. So like if you take Ernst Borg, for instance, we have this really big paintball event every year. So then we have about 150, 200 different people in the game industry that is shooting paint on each other and so on, and people like that. And then we have, of course, some discussion afterwards. So you go and have some beer and food, and then you can discuss with people.
Mm.
And there's a lot of those types of events on different companies where you can interact and you can get to know people and so on. And
Exactly.
then when you are starting in the game industry, you are in a lot of projects, and those projects are in most cases not something that is just for your studio. It's also a cooperation with other studios. So some studios perhaps doing the characters, another one is doing some animation and so on. And they have a perfect opportunity to just grab all the names and what they're doing, try to be a little bit of a pal with them and so on. Because even if game industry is big, uh, people more or less know each other. So if you know one or two in one company, it's a big chance that they know someone else that might be good for that job that you would like to apply for.
Mm.
So always collect on your names in all the projects that you go to. So that is also a good way to do some networking, because that's free. They are invited to you. They work in the same project or project, uh, yeah, near you, and it's easily to get in to the world and talk with them.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah, it's really important. Keep your LinkedIn up to date, keep your social media
Yes,
up to date. Make sure to always add people. If you meet people out on an event or at the workplace or just anywhere, ask for LinkedIn, ask them to add you.
yes,
Yeah,
do
it's
that.
really easy nowadays. Yeah. Just bring your cell phone and add them straight there.
Hmm.
Yeah. As someone who is a bit more senior, can you tell us how has networking changed throughout the years? Did you use the network when you were more junior in your career within tech?
Uh, Not that much. It has changed. Now it was after work was something that came a little bit later, and then people went to that. But it was more like this: you have to go, you can't miss it. Now it's more like the company is doing after works and stuff similar to that rather often. But it's also so that your yeah, all the people that you work with, your colleagues, also spontaneously create some event that you can play with and so on, or be on. And like I can take as the board where I work, we have like a really big stash of board games. So if it's like a Friday evening and so on, then there's always a lot of people just asking each other, "What are you doing? Should you stay a little bit more? Should we play some board games? Should we do something?" So then you create events like that internally. That is not the company produced, but produced by the colleagues, and that has been something that is almost a standard now. So we play board games, we watch cinemas together, we do a lot of yeah of the private life together. So we have a lot of people that like to do this wall climbing thing, for instance, and so on, and then they just go together and do that. So it has grown. Before it was more, this is your private life, this is working life, you don't mix them.
Hmm. Got it, got it. Yeah, I guess the advantage nowadays is that you have internet, so it's very easy to keep in touch with people, to add
Yeah,
people, and to showcase your work, and just show who you are.
exactly.
I guess that's the main thing that's changed within the last few decades or so. So to get back to good resources, this is a bit more as someone who has actually educated yourself in a school environment. What
Yes.
educational resources or initiatives would you suggest for aspiring technical artists looking to excel in the gaming industry, considering its distinct requirements compared to tech?
Yeah, exactly. So it's a little bit as I mentioned before that the game industry has some specific things like you need to know how to make a low poly out of a high poly. You need to know how to do materials and so on. So what you should know is all these things. And if you want to learn about what tools should I learn, what should I master in the industry, that is of course depending on what you're doing. But if you even if you are like a technical artist, you should know all the tools that the studio is using more or less, especially since you are a technical artist, because you have a very wide area to handle. So you should know about the main tools for doing materials, which is Substance Designer and Substance Painter. Those two tools should be something that you should know. And then you should know at least one 3D tool. And I would suggest that it should be either Maya or Blender or both of them, because those are like the biggest in the industry right
Mm.
now. So it's also so that you can, of course, run and try 3D Studio Max, but uh, it's more different than other 3D tools, and it's also way bigger on your hard drive. So if you just wanted to put down it and just learn something, then I would not suggest that. And as I said, it's not as big as Maya in the game industry. So I would suggest that Maya or Blender would work fine too.
Yeah,
And then for 2D, most people use Photoshop.
yeah.
So you should handle that as well. And then you should learn about scripting. And in the game industry, Python is essential. So especially as a technical artist, so you need to know about Python, because if you're doing some automatic scripting for Maya, or if you're doing for Blender, it's still Python. If you do some scripting in Unreal Engine, you can also use Python if you want to. So it's okay to use in most different situations. So Python is really good to learn. Then when it comes to deeper languages, if you want to go like to C# and C++ and so on, that is of course an advantage, but it's way over what the technical artists need. So you don't need to know about C# or C++, but if you are working with Unity, it's good to know C#, and if you're working with Unreal, it's good to know C++. But that is, as I said, nothing that you really need to know. However, what you should know is the scripting languages for doing shaders and materials. So HLSL or GLSL is something that you should master as well. And to learn about those things, then you have different things on internet that we discussed the Udemy before, but you also have a lot of other stuff that, for instance, if you would like to learn about the math, the linear algebra and so on, when working as a technical artist, you often want to visualize the math. You want to see it in graphs, because you often do patterns in your shaders and so on. And then you have this graph tool that is free, and it's called Desmos, that you can find on internet. And that was, I think, my teacher's favorite tool. Every time he would like to show us something, he said, okay, now we can show it in Desmos. So then you just went into that and got it to work. And then there is, of course, the same, that there's a lot of things for learning HLSL and GLSL as well on the internet as well. So you can find a lot of these things, and often it's just to Google these keywords, and then you will find resources both on YouTube and on other places that will learn you exactly what you want to know.
Very interesting. We have another question from an audience member, and this one is a bit more. I'm not really sure we can answer it, but let's take a look. Is the future bright for a master's degree in games in Finland? How many % can you find a job in this field in the Finnish market? And possibly this is a bit out of our
Exactly.
knowledge. Yeah.
Yes, it is. I can speak for Sweden and for Denmark, and I can talk about the differences here. But for the Finnish market, they have big studios like Rovio and so on. But I'm not sure how many smaller studios they have and how big the complete industry is in Finland. So it's really hard for me to answer that one. But if I just check a little bit comparing Sweden and Denmark, since we are talking about the Scandinavian countries anyway, one big difference between Denmark and Sweden is age. Because in Sweden, if you're searching a job and have an age like mine, they will be very skeptical. Say, okay, you are very old. Should you work on our studio? Can you really do what a young, creative gamer can do? And it's really hard to get into the industry if you are a little bit older. If I go to Denmark, they go and say, oh shit, you're so old, you have so much competence, you're more than welcome. So it's almost the opposite in Denmark. They really see what you have done, and they have more of a thing that if you have a job in Denmark, it's not like you are building your fortress in that job. You will stay there forever. They see a job as a temporary thing more. So you go in, you do your stuff, and when you feel that it's okay for me to move, then you move. So they are more accustomed to a lot of job jumping, so to say. In Sweden, we are more like, okay, will you like to work on this company for like 5, 10, 15 years? If not, we are not interested in you. They want you to stay put on that place. In reality, it could be almost the same in Denmark and Sweden, but the feeling that people have that hire you is that you will stay a shorter while in Denmark. You will stay forever in Sweden. That is how they think. And if you're old, they think that, can that guy manage our tempo that we have here in Sweden? And in Denmark, they take a beer, take it easy. It will manage. so it's a big difference between those two countries. When it comes to what they're doing, Sweden is more like do AAA games, console, PC. Denmark is, or at least Copenhagen area, is more for the mobile gaming industry. So they're doing a lot of big mobile games in Denmark and are famous for that. And we in Malmö and southern Sweden are famous for doing the AAA games. So it's a little bit of difference in that area as well. So that is a little bit about that. But as I said, the Finland and the Finnish industry, I know very little about.
Indeed. Well, you're going to have to do your research, Fatima, but thank you so much for the question. So, we are actually heading towards the end of the webinar, so I would like to wrap this up with one final question. And that is basically key insights for aspiring technical artists. What factors should aspiring technical artists keep in mind when seeking roles in the gaming industry versus tech positions? Do you have specific tips for the job searches in these two distinct fields?
Yes, I mentioned most of them, but one that is really important, as I said, is that if you're going to be a technical artist, you should be very wide in your areas. You should know about how an artist work with his art. You should know the technique behind. You should know about optimization and all of that stuff. So that makes you fall into the trap that when you are trying to get a job, you say, but I can manage that, I can fix everything, I'm really, really qualified for everything. And they will be very, very afraid and say, no, you're not fit for this job. So one insight that I had is the one that I said in the beginning. Be specified in just that area that you really, really want to work with the most. That is what you should say out loud. I would like to work with scripting. I love to do stuff in Python. Or I would like to do material. I'm perfect for your substance designers. But you should not mention the other stuff that you would like to really love working with everything, because that will frighten people. Another thing is that you need to be curious, because the game industry is one industry that is always trying to reach the next thing that isn't there yet. Because, as I said, the computers are not so powerful that you can just take the reality into them. You need to cheat, and you need to find different ways to do that. And every year and every week and every month, something new is coming up. Now we have a lot with artificial intelligence, for instance, that you need to see, okay, what can I gain from artificial intelligence? What can I use for it? What type of tools do they use to gain knowledge in that field? Or you can look at the game that you really like and say, I wonder how they did that effect or how they did that thing. Then you search for that area until you know how they do it. So be curious in all stuff that is around you. Like now, for instance, I think that I believe it's version 3.6 of Blender that is out. I'm at 4.1 because I need to learn what is new in 4.1 while people normally sits in 3.6. So I can go and say, okay, when you get version 4 of something of Blender, then you know that there will be geometry nodes for tools as well. So you can use that instead of Python, and we can do it like this, and I can show them some demonstration of how those things works. So that I need to know before it releases. I check on the alpha and I check the beta, and I do that with all the tools that we work with, so I know what comes. And I check my LinkedIn and I see all the new flows that comes in, if there are something new that I should check a little bit more. So be curious, check everything around you to have a good amount of knowledge when the first person asks you about that. So you don't have to sit and look like you don't know anything about it. So that is one thing. And another thing about being a technical artist is also to learn everything about the flows. As I said, you need to know how to create a game asset, even if you're not an expert of it. And if you create something and it's just not so good, you need to know the technique behind, because you will get questions from start to end, how to automate things, how to make it better in some way, and so on. And then you need to know the flow to be able to provide an answer. So always learn the flow, and that is for creating that. It's for creating materials. It's for every specific game flow, so to say. So you should really know those things, so you can handle it. And other thing is, as I mentioned in the beginning, you should know one thing, but that also means that you should go deeper into that one thing. So if you are burning for doing effects, well, then learn how to do those effects in Unity and in Unreal. So if you are in Unreal, then you should know Niagara, for instance, but you should not just know how to connect the tools or build all the things in the user interface. You should know how you can go behind the curtains and build your own node groups and create everything as you want. So you should go really deep and know all that is to that area. So when they ask a second or third question, then you should know the answer for that when you try to get the job.
Very interesting.
And then you need contact with other technical artists. There are channels on Discord, for instance, that are specified just for technical artists, and there are also forums on Facebook and LinkedIn for this type of role. And then you can ask questions, you can get contacts, and you can get ahead of what you're doing in a good way. So be in contact with other people in your role. That is also a rather good thing to be doing.
Excellent, excellent. So, Mr. Joakim Tornhill, we have reached the end of this webinar. I would like to ask you, where can people reach you or get in touch with you, and where can they see your work?
LinkedIn, I think, is the best way to have some type of contact information for me. And as you can see in the URL, this is where you can find my art. It's not game related, it's just my hobby art, but I like to save it anyway. So yes, that is the place.
Yes, and you're also very involved in the Blender community, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, one of the things that I really like to do is material. So I become like a material expert in the Blender community and have Facebook groups and a lot of other things concerning materials. I do Udemy courses, a Facebook group, YouTube. Everything is just about materials in Blender. Professionally, I use more Substance Designer, but for hobby, I use Blender, and that is what people see.
Excellent, excellent. And we will provide all these links in the description. So,
Yeah.
Mr. Joakim Tornhill, thank you so much for this opportunity. Thank you for taking the time out of your busy schedule to share your knowledge.
Yeah,
And
no problem.
I wish you all the best, and I will see you soon.
Yeah, the same.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Goodbye.
Bye.